great finish.
It's going to work. George puts up a long-range three and nails it. Kayla G for three.
Back to Nicholson, off the glass.
Three ball. Unbelievable. Been an impressive performance.
A shot, she gives it off. Almost a half court from Melbourne. It's gone. And the look on her face says it all.
Round 15 of the Cygnett WNBL continues in the nation's capital, with the UC Capitals hosting the finals-bound Melbourne Boomers. It's Melbourne's penultimate regular season game, and they're coming into the match with patchy form, winning just 2 of their past 6 games. And today they run into a young Capitals outfit that's finishing the season with a rush, upsetting Adelaide and almost beating the Fire in recent weeks. And that player on screen, Jade Melbourne, is in some scintillating touch. So it's a danger game for the Boomers, but the reigning champs know all about peaking at the right time of the year. Hello and welcome to the National Convention Centre. Ben Waterworth with you, alongside one of the sharpest minds in Australian basketball and long-time WNBL assistant coach Mark Alabakoff. Mark, welcome along. The Boomers, they can't afford to take these Caps lightly.
Not at all. The Caps have been taking on all comers and playing with a real sense of belief in themselves right now. They're more aggressive on both the offensive and defensive end. 2 of their last 3 games, they've had 4 double-digit scorers, so you never know who can bob up and play a match-winning role for them.
Let's have a look at the ladder as we head into the real crunch time of the WNBL season. It was only 3 nights ago that the Southside and the Melbourne Boomers played off in a derby, and Southside essentially sealing a top 2 spot with a win over the Boomers. And with Bendigo and Perth to play a little bit later on tonight, Melbourne is essentially locked in to 3rd spot. So from a ladder perspective, the Boomers can't really move. The Cats with only the 2 wins, but as I mentioned before, Mark, they seem like at times that they've been better than a 2-win team this season.
They have, and they've been cohesive. They've gotten better as the season's worn on. They're a team that was gutted compared to last season's roster, so they've really started from ground zero and built as the course of the season has played out, and they're playing some really good basketball right now.
Let's have a look at how the UC Capitals will line up today. They've recently got Shanice Swain back into this lineup as well, who missed several weeks due to injury. Jade Melbourne also out there. Beck Pizzi, quite remarkable, the only player so far this season from the Capitals to play every single game, and of course Nicole Munger has been so reliable for the Caps.
Yeah, she's been tremendous, in particular, Nicole Munger, and we'll speak about her throughout the game, I'm sure, but she's been rock solid, averaging 32 minutes a game since the very first game that she played. Every game thereafter, she's been a starter for their program. So that gives you a picture of the kind of trust and value that Coach Veal has within her for this Caps lineup.
Ray Burrell has been their star import so far this season, and she has worked really, really well with the likes of Jade Melbourne and their last-minute inclusion as well, Nicole Munger. We'll be talking a lot throughout the afternoon about Jade Melbourne, but in a disappointing season for the Caps, these 3 players can hold their heads high.
They've been shining lights. So Ray Burrell's been electric. She can get hot and score points in a hurry. She had 22 against the Melbourne Boomers last time that they played, had 24 against the Bendigo Spirit and was a match winner. She can really turn it on. Jade Melbourne, wow, she's been an absolute catalyst for their team. She can quickly change a game. She's the heart and soul of their whole program, and there's no quit in her. She's a real lion cub that's emerging into a lion in the national landscape.
Definitely, no doubt about that. As we have a look at the Melbourne Boomers, the big team news is that Christy Wallace is not playing today. So if you're watching Wednesday night's game, you would have noticed Christy come off with that under the blood rule with that elbow injury. Just feeling a little bit sore still after that incident. So it's a game day call not to play her today. The Boomers confident that she should be right to go pretty soon. It means that Taylor Ortlett, who's only just come into the roster in recent weeks, Mark, has got the start today.
Yeah, and she'll fit in seamlessly, I think. She's familiar with Coach Chris Lucas. She's played for him with the Adelaide Lightning in years gone by, and then also represented Australia in junior national teams for Chris. So the understanding of that coach-player relationship, that's been established over a number of years between those two. So she'll fit in seamlessly. She's been a great, backup point guard in this competition for a number of years.
My word, haven't these two been so reliable for the Melbourne Boomers this season? They are stuffing the stat sheet every game. They're top 10 in the league in so many different areas. They're so hard to guard from an opposition perspective.
2 genuine match winners. So Kayla George, she's absolutely the head of the table within this team. She's been a very good maybe sidekick for a lot of really great programs over the years, but this is the first time that she's been like the franchise player within within this Melbourne Boomers team, and she's really thriving. The change in her demeanour, her leadership, it's all gone up a level. You know, last season she averaged 13 points, 11 rebounds and 2 assists. This season she's up to 19, 12 and 5. And Tiff Mitchell, wow, you know, one of the most explosive players in the league, a driver by nature, but has worked on that three-point shot. She's gone from 23% to 42% in the case of one season.
Jade Melbourne gets us underway here at the National Convention Centre. Great to have your company wherever you're watching around the planet on 9 now for this clash between the Capitals and the Boomers. It's the third game between these two sides this season. The Boomers have won both games so far in the 2022-23 campaign. It's been off the back of big first quarters, and they can get the quick start here as Nelson Adoda gets the scoring underway.
An early defensive showing from the UC Caps, showing a 1-2-2 half-court trap. So trying to disrupt Taylor Ortlett.
Melbourne, what a pass. Trying to find her young guard teammate star in Swain, but she just lost control of the Spalding. So in the first game between these two sides in November last year, it was a 36-point first quarter by the Boomers to 22. Then in the game last month, as Mia Murray puts it up and knocks it down, the Boomers off to a 5-0 start. On Jan 14, the Boomers in their 78-57 win, they were 29-15 at quarter time. So on both occasions had a 14-point advantage at quarter time over the Caps. They already have a very high start here, an excellent start, and Nelson Adoda continues that momentum. Murray for her second triple, and if she's feeling it from deep, that's danger for the Caps. Mitchell driving in a natural habitat, goes to the rack and lays it in. And an early timeout is called with not even a minute and a half gone. It's the Boomers 5-0. Might just be a couple of substitution rather. But nonetheless, it is the Boomers who have made a very hot start here, Mark.
Yeah, very fast start, being very aggressive in transition by the looks of it. I think for Coach Veal, you know, coming out with a different game plan, trying to disrupt the early flow, you know, to mitigate some of those fast starts that the Boomers have had. They're going to want to be really aggressive and commit to that. You know, a fast start by the Boomers is a 5-0, you know, kickoff here to this quarter. They've got to re-establish some of that, you know, management of the game.
Make it 7-0 as well. It feels like the referee's just conferring here with the stats bench and making sure we're all good to go. I'm sure the Caps would be more pleasantly happy with a 5-zip start at the start than a 7-zips at the start. But Melbourne flexing their muscle early, as we mentioned beforehand, haven't been in the greatest or most convincing form in recent weeks. Won just 2 of their past 6 games. Swain puts it up. That's an incredible shot considering Nelson Adoda was in her face.
Yeah, a great pull-up across the mid-range there. They do a really good job with their pull-up game, the UC Caps.
Foul called here as Tiffany Mitchell will head to the charity stripe to shoot a couple. She's been an incredible free throw shooter right throughout her WNBL and WNBA career as well. 82% free throw shooter this season. She's been brilliant in the WNBA as well from the charity stripe. Incredible consistency, Mark, this year from Tiff Mitchell, this season rather. Scored at least 10 points in all 16 games so far this season. You don't often see that offensive consistency from anyone in the WNBL.
Yeah, and especially being in a lineup that has changed compared to last season's roster for the Melbourne Boomers. She's taken on a whole lot more scoring burden and then responsibility to produce the type of numbers at the percentages that she is as stellar as there is in the game.
Is Burrell. Nelson Adoda may have got a hand in there as well. Forced the missed shot. And a quick fast break opportunity as Mia Murray. Danger for the Caps. She's already got 2 triples.
And there's always the imminent threat of that 3-point shot. If you're the Caps, you've got to locate Mia Murray on the change of possession and stick with her. You can't give her any time and space because she can hit a couple of them and get you going.
We've already seen a couple of times this season Mia Murray get hot from deep. Swain, all oxygen at the other end. And early danger signs for the Caps. We're not even 2.5 minutes in to this first quarter. The Boomers playing with a fierce determination early.
They want to regain their rhythm. They're heading into finals now, so being able to establish, or re-establish, I should say, their standards of play is going to be important come the business end.
George lobbing it in there for Nelson Adoda. It is when Kayla George is her vision, she would be one of the quickest passers, you think, in the WNBL. She's got no hesitation sometimes to pull the trigger on a pass if a teammate's in a better position.
Yeah, and that's really been exemplary this year too. She just makes the right basketball play. Not only can she score, she can put the ball to the floor and make plays off the dribble, but then she's got such a keen eye for people in better positions, and it's almost like she sees the game a step ahead, or the action slows down for her.
Here's Jade Melbourne coming off just a lazy triple-double in her last start for the UC Caps. Third triple-double in the WNBL in the past decade. One of those other triple-doublists on the floor right now. Kayla George earlier this season. Pizzi pulls the trigger on a three. And good defense from the Boomers, forcing a late shot on the shot clock.
I think you hit the nail on the head. So you look at some of the shot selection of the Caps early, they're disruptive. They're driving into traffic, driving to positions that are being defended and being blocked, but then having to take deep three-point shots that are all outside their normal offense.
George trying to reverse that in. A rare stop here for the Caps, as Melbourne tries to go to work and kick up the tempo, trying to create something on offense for the Caps. Munga for Swain, trying to get around Ortler. That is brilliant from the 19-year-old.
Tough to make that play off the dribble with no backboard angle going baseline. A really challenging shot that she makes.
Mitchell pulls the trigger for three. Another shot from downtown drops for the Melbourne Boomers, who lead by 10.
There's a clinical feel early from the Melbourne Boomers at both ends.
Melbourne drives and lays it in. Blink and you'll miss Jade Melbourne. Those points are hard to come by at the moment for the Caps. Meanwhile, at the other end, scoring pretty easy for the Melbourne Boomers.
Such a quick first step. It's hard to stay in front of.
2 fouls already on the Caps. Melbourne Boomers with their first here, just under 5 minutes played.
Smart idea by Nelson Odota to try and ride that screen up. She's got to keep constant contact to try and push the screener higher so her teammate can slip underneath and stay connected with the ball. But just extended her arms and pushed and got whistled for it.
Izzy was screaming off the pick and roll, didn't go in that direction. George blocks Munga. Big rejection from Kayla G. Mitchell was hoping for Nelson Odota on the thread the needle pass. Didn't come off, but the Boomers have 19 seconds still on the shot clock. You'll be calling a timeout if you're Kristen Veal pretty soon here, Mark.
I mean, you'd want to get a basket on the next possession, or you'd definitely start thinking about it. I mean, there's already moves made here with a substitution, so hopefully that can turn momentum for them.
Britt Smart coming onto the floor as Shanice Swain takes a seat. Britt Smart, of course, a former Boomer herself, played 3 seasons with the Melbourne Boomers. Guarding Mia Murray at the moment. Nelson Odota goes to work on Pizzi. Melbourne almost pinched it away from her, but Nelson Odota so good. Missed it, won it back, off the rebound, put it back in for 2, and will head to the line for an extra.
She's very visibly become far more assertive, and her reaction time is far quicker at both ends of the floor. In the past month of basketball for them, she's going to be really critical come the finals for the Melbourne Boomers, both in defensive jobs, but then plays like that where her length can be so difficult to deal with on the offensive glass.
And does that just, do you think, come with more minutes and more games she's played with the Boomers?
Well, visibly they're running more actions through her, so they're getting her touches and she'll get her confidence up. But some of it is just acclimation to the league. We have a physical brand of basketball here in Australia.
Here's Burrell receiving off from Melbourne. Guarded here by Kayla George. Puts it up for 3. Couldn't get it to drop. Long rebound for Mia Murray. Ortler with the start today for the Melbourne Boomers in place of Christy Wallace. Pass there for Murray. She was hoping for Nelson Odota, but it was wayward. And the Caps get the ball back, but they trail by 13 already.
A challenging angle to try to throw the ball to your post from the top. It's far better to either take a dribble to get a better angle or throw the ball to a wing and then throw it in.
Healthy crowd at the National Convention Centre, as there always is for UC Caps games. This team is a real heartbeat of Canberra from a sporting perspective. And a miss from the Caps. Murray goes to work. George and Mitchell, those 2 MVP candidates, as Mitchell drives hard inside, looking to draw the foul, and does so, but can't hit the 2.
quick first step, gets a shoulder to chest advantage, and then is able to ride that contact all the way through to a finish.
Didn't play in the second game between the Boomers and the Caps this season, but hit 21 points when these two teams met in round 1 of the WNBL all the way back in November last year, which does feel like a very long time ago. Amazing how quickly this season moves and how soon the WNBL finals are upon us. In a couple of weeks to go. So the Boomers led by 14 points at quarter time in both of the previous two meetings between these two sides. They're already up by 14, just over halfway through their third meeting. Melbourne steps back for 3. Oh my word.
Big shot that they needed, but you can see a lot of their action is coming over the top of people. The Boomers are in a switching defense, so they've always got somebody between the person with the ball for the Caps and the basket.
There's a serious mismatch down low there with Nelson Adota. She couldn't quite get that one to go. Melbourne tries to thread the needle. It's steamed off Burrell's hands, much to her disappointment, and the Boomers get the ball back.
So switching all 5 players, so even on that last possession, Nelson Adota switches onto the far faster in the open floor, Jade Melbourne, but trusts being able to keep a cushion of space and her length being enough to disrupt anything that Jade did.
5 points for Melbourne. Here's Nelson Adota, who's looking dangerous already, but a mid-range 2 attempt doesn't drop. Tugliak will bring it away for the Caps coming off the bench. Munga for Melbourne. She's put her team on her back here, and she will head to the line for an extra after making a tough 2.
That right to left crossover and then change of pace, one of the things that she does a fantastic job of that people can look out for, when she changes hands, whether it's right to left, left to right, it's the explosion that comes thereafter. It's a change where the ball safely gets to the other side of her body so it's protected, and then the turn of speed is as electric as there is in our, our national landscape.
In her last 3 games, she's really found her offensive rhythm. 19 points, 21 points, 19 points in her last 3. Overall, across those 3 games, going at 55% from the field, finishing the season with a rush.
And that 55% from the field is based solely on her ability to get to the rim almost at will. They're layup type attempts that she's able to create for herself, both with her smarts and then her decision making, but also just the sheer athleticism. She's a phenomenal athlete.
See George and Munga colliding there. You could also see as well, Leilani Mitchell has checked into the game for the Melbourne Boomers. Game number 2 for Mitchell. And with the Caps in the bonus, Kayla George is at the charity stripe. Very good free throw shooter as well. 82% free throw shooter across the season as she completes both. Extends Melbourne's lead back out to 9. Melbourne was hoping for a Tugliak cut there, but Tugliak wasn't even watching the ball. There is Leilani Mitchell. It is quite a wonderful story to see her back playing some basketball after the birth of second child.
It's always handy when you can add an athlete with hundreds of games of top-line basketball at the world's best levels, this late in the season, to be able to help contribute to your program in the business end.
Is Burrell going to work on George? Smart. Works her way into the key. Tough basket, but almost the timing there on the shot was outstanding. Almost made it look easy, actually, as she drew the contact. Got the 2, but head to the line to make it a 3-point play.
And she's not always the quickest athlete, Britt Smart. Fantastic shooter, but when she goes to the dribble, it's interesting. She just has this absolute knack of being able to create her own time and space. She'll stop and start with dribbles, and then when she chooses to go, she'll ride contact and then release and be able to shoot as she's fading away from you.
First time out of the game, and it's brought to you by CTM Sport. If your team is considering travelling interstate, consider CTM Sport for a competitive, innovative and customised travel solution that puts your team on spot. To learn more, head to ctmsport.com. So the Caps were down by as many as 14 points, but Melbourne has really sort of flipped the momentum of the game offensively, brought a couple of teammates along with her, and the Boomers
only lead by 8 points. So better signs for the Caps, Mark, in the past couple of minutes.
They've been able to stabilise, and some of that, I think, is psychological more than anything. Being able to see the ball go in the hoop and stem the tide of what that deficit was, you just play a whole lot calmer, and you're able to adhere to game plan and then make the plays that you see, you know, not necessarily the ones that you want when you're a little bit agitated by the fast start of the Melbourne Boomers. So while I think they were settling for rushed shots, forced shots early, they've been able to settle into a little bit of a rhythm here in this past couple of minutes.
Britt Smart will head to the free throw line to complete the three-point play. Smart, a 73% free throw shooter. As I mentioned, 3 seasons with the Boomers, including winning the 2017 MVP award with the Boomers. She was part of the Boomers setup as Burrell will try and make it a 4-point play on the 3rd attempt. Drives hard inside, still can't get it to go, and George brings it down. But Smart was part of the sort of the Boomers rebrand when they were sort of on the canvas. A little bit of help, the rebrand came, and Smart was one of the players that was part of that roster that helped get them going again, and it all culminated in the championship last year. All by herself is Murray in the corner, and luckily for the Caps, they get away with one there because she's been in hot shooting form early. Burrell explodes, and George gives away the foul.
And she's electric off the dribble, so she wants to make plays going to the bounce, whether it's in the full court or the half court. And you know, this puts her in positions at times where if the defense is already back and loaded, sometimes she can force action. So her best performances and her worst performances, there's been quite the gap. In the open floor like that, if you don't pick her up, she's got the length and then that quickness to be able to get down the floor from end to end within 3 to 4 dribbles maximum.
You're right about the difference between her best and worst performances so far this season, Ray Burrell. 5 times she's had 7 or less points in the game, but 6 times she's had 20 or more points in a game. One of those times, though, was the last time these 2 times met against the Melbourne Boomers down in Gippsland. She had 22 points when she went 3 of 7 from 3-point line to go with 7 rebounds. But they'll need a big afternoon from her, the Caps, if they want to try and pinch an upset victory here. Here's Burrell off the turnover and the fast break. Drives hard inside, can't lay it in.
Unlucky, but case in point, if you give her time and space, she's tough to defend or tough to pick up and stop from going full steam to the basket.
George almost lost control. Mitchell there to pick up the crumbs. Catch here from Davidson. Kicks it all the way out. That one doesn't quite drop. Mitchell couldn't quite get it to go either on the second chance opportunity. Smart already got 1 3-point play opportunity. Couldn't make it 2. Mitchell able to keep control. Davidson on the floor as well for the Melbourne Boomers. A good game against the Caps earlier this season. Off the bench. What a great pass though. The Caps get the ball back and they just flip the momentum of this one.
A lot of good ideas, but just errors or unforced errors within skill execution. But on that last possession, you see the value of a Leilani Mitchell. She can see the game's getting a little bit helter-skelter, tucks the ball under her arm, pulls the play, and just settles everybody down.
Leah on the field. Melbourne. Well, that's one of the easier layups that she'll get as the seas parted for her, and she continues her hot start to the game. 10 points already for Jade Melbourne. George backing down, loves that turnaround attempt, but couldn't get it to go, and the Caps get another stop. Swain back on the floor. They really have lifted the Caps, and they've brought the crowd with them as well. They're riding every shot at the moment. It's Miala Goodchild on the floor and turns it over. Quite a remarkable script flip this has been, and Melbourne is driving it. Swain for 3. They're going nuts in Canberra, and rightly so. They were down by 14, and now they're within 2.
And that's a result of the pressure that they've put on the basket. They've peppered the rim with finishes that have rattled around and fallen out. Now Melbourne's response is to collapse to try to blow some of those drives to the basket up. Opens up the 3-point shot for Swain in the corner.
And an offensive foul against Kayla George as well means that Canberra can have the last say in this first quarter. What a remarkable run this has been from the Caps. And this young star who had the ball just then, Jade Melbourne, has driven it. Burrell is called for the offensive foul. And Lou Brown draws it.
And there's an example of trying to force the action. So there was no need to put the ball to the floor and bully your way to the rim with still 7 seconds to go. You want to end the end the quarter with possession of the basketball, not give the ball back to the Boomers. They get a chance to try to regain some momentum here.
Can Mitchell get the two? Tough shot. Sort of ran herself into a little bit of trouble. And that was the definition of a quarter of a tale of two halves. The Boomers led by 14. Jade Melbourne inspired a scintillating Capitals comeback, and they're only trailed by 2 at the first change. Melbourne 22, the UC Capitals 20. As we have a look at some of the first quarter highlights, where it started with Nelson Adoda and Mia Murray dominating at one end of the floor, Mark. But how do you think the Caps were able to get themselves back into this contest?
Well, it was Jade Melbourne. You know, being able to score stabilising baskets allowed them to settle down and then play within their rhythm. So they were able to get the second half of that quarter back on their terms. So it was an 11-2 start from the Melbourne Boomers. The back end of that quarter was 9-23 in favour of the Caps, which is huge. So the threats on the rim, so as you see here, collapses the defense, you can kick the ball out. Now you've got great floor spacing and shooters that are able to knock the shot down. You know, the run that they've gone on this back end has been from just sheer aggressiveness and pushing the ball in transition.
The upside is someone like Ray Burrell went 0 of 6 from the field in that quarter, so she's got plenty of improvement left in this game. As we have a look at some of the key numbers so far, the Boomers a little bit more dominant off the glass, but from a clip perspective, going from the field, both teams pretty similar numbers there. So Kristen Veal, I suppose, be pretty satisfied with her team at quarter time.
She would, and especially that back end of the quarter, to have the resolve to fight back and then be able to put yourself in a position now where we've got a ball game. You know, that aggressiveness on the basket was the catalyst for everything else that came thereafter. They scored 8 points in the paint. Melbourne Boomers have only scored the 6. They've just shot a little bit better from the perimeter. This next quarter is going to be a real arm wrestle for who is able to gain ascendancy from a tactical standpoint, and then do the Caps have their own resolve to be able to withstand the barrage that's about to come out from an aggression standpoint, a physicality standpoint from the Melbourne Boomers.
So Kristen Veal addressing her side. Here is the Melbourne Boomers, Chris Lucas calling the shots. Christy Harrer, his assistant as well. Star-studded Melbourne Boomers coaching outfit, must be said. Star-studded roster as well, but they've got their hands full. As we mentioned, they can't afford to underestimate this Capitals outfit, who have just found a little bit of rhythm in the past couple of weeks. Tight win over Adelaide and almost a boil-over win over the red-hot Townsville Fire. And then within 2 of the Boomers here, as players hit the deck everywhere underneath the basket. And Munga is not in great shape there at the bottom. Let's have a look on replay at the top of your screen. And it may have been a head clash.
You're probably not expecting that contact too. You've got Taylor Orlip, who's just come from the AFLW. Being able to come and lay a body on is going to be very familiar to her.
She's tough though, Nicole Munga. Being as reliable and as consistent as you want from an input, really, Mark, Nicole Munga. Every game she scored between 9 and 17 points. That is the definition of you know what you're going to get from a player.
And in terms of efficiency, so we judge players, great players, from being 50% from the field, 40% from the 3, 90% from the free throw line. She's 46, 35 and 87.
She will come to the bench just to be assessed as well. Gets a round of applause from the faithful here at the National Convention Centre. In the meantime, Mitchell trying to drive along the baseline there, pulls out. Here's Ortlip inside. That's a tough attempt. Couldn't get it to go, and a big rebound from Swain. As Tugliak to her right. Lost the handle, got it back, found Burrell, couldn't hit the 3. She's 0 of 7 from the field, Ray Burrell, to start this one.
Some clean looks that haven't been falling just yet for the Caps.
At the other end, Mitchell can't hit that clean look. There's also not starting to drop for the Boomers offensively after they had a very efficient start from the field. Here's Mitchell driving hard inside and will head to the line.
Going to her left, she's really, really challenging to stay in front of, and she's always seeking that. So that's plan A for her, and she's been that left driver. You've got to try to do your best to take that away and force her into plan Bs and Cs. The trouble is she's gotten so much better going right off the bounce, and then, as I mentioned pre-game, the three-point shot. So you can't sit off and give her a cushion either, because she can knock that down at a 40% clip. She's become the complete player in the past 12 months.
Yeah, top 10 in the WNBL this season for points, for assists, for steals, and going at 42% from the three-point line, as you mentioned. And her and Kayla George are top 2 in the WNBL for minutes average. George averaging the 37, Mitchell the 36. Can you see both of them really challenging for the Susie Bakovic medal, the WNBL MVP this season?
Short answer is yes, absolutely. I think it's going to be Kayla George's trophy to lose, I believe, in my opinion. Tiff Mitchell, incredible player, but where she's been in and out of the lineup a little bit, I think that's where Kayla George might get the nod.
Yeah, Mitchell did miss 3 games this season. Smart catches, shoots, knocks it down.
What a career resurgence she's had since coming to Canberra.
With the Boomers and then with the Sydney Flames as well. He really has thrived in a bench role for the UC Caps. Catch here from Nelson Adota, but well done by Tugliak to rip the ball away, and Beck Pizzi involved as well. All the momentum here with the Caps. Jade Melbourne kicks it out for Tugliak. Thought about the 3.
It's interesting you say that. If the Caps get a score here and take the lead, look for Chris Lucas to call a timeout to try and kill the momentum.
Melbourne does put the Caps in front. There is the timeout called by Mark Alabakov. There's the double fist pump from Jade Melbourne, whose UC Capitals have totally flipped the momentum of this game, and they hold a 25-24 lead. And this is Jade Melbourne at her best.
It really is, just relentlessly getting to the basket. I used the word before that she's a catalyst. She can change things, she can act and turn a game on its head. And her emergence as a point guard, within not only the WNBL but our national landscape, shows that we've got such a bright future for basketball in our nation.
This timeout is brought to you by Cygnett. This game has been sensational so far. So for the fans tuning in from home or on the go, make sure your Cygnett charging products are ready so that to power up your devices, because you won't want to miss a second of the action of this game or any other WNBL game. Check out the extensive range of Aussie-designed digital accessories right for you at cygnett.com. Just 20 years of age, Jade Melbourne. Game number 48, officially signed with Seattle in the WNBA for the 2023 season. She was drafted, obviously, last year to Seattle. She's on board for 2023. What an exciting time coming up for her this year.
And gets to sharpen her sword against the world's best in the WNBA, but also playing a team that I understand is almost like a WNBL All-Star program.
Melbourne, Mag Begor, Sammy Whitcomb, and then very familiar and successful recent WNBL imports, Kia Nurse and Mercedes Russell as well. That's a very, very handy Seattle roster. Another turnover from the Boomers. Pizzi on the fast break. Back to Smart. And Pizzi couldn't lay it in. Almost party tricks between Pizzi and Smart there.
And unlucky, there's some of the opportunities they're creating at the point of the rim. There's a minimum of 10 points worth of layups that they've missed so far.
They are reading the play to go to Nelson Adota superbly, the Caps at the moment. Melbourne cannot be stopped.
And that's that turn of pace. It's almost like she goes into overdrive. Her straight line speed is as quick as any athlete that I've seen in the WNBL in, gosh, the better part of 15 to 20 years of being involved and being a fan. 14
points for Jade Melbourne. Mia Murray can't arrest the momentum. Foul off the rebound is called. Kayla George is very frustrated. Jeers ring around the National Convention Centre as well.
As I mentioned pre-game, the aggressiveness or the cranking up of aggressiveness that the UC Caps have brought into their game in the back end of this season on both ends of the floor, coming into play here, getting under the skin of the very talented, very experienced Melbourne Boomers outfit.
So the foul is being called here, I think against Tugliak. You could see on the replay there the holding. It looked like both players were holding each other there. As George is trying to contest the rebound as well as Tugliak.
And that's hard to do. I mean, you're a young athlete and you're up against a multiple-time Australian opal. To go and get into a wrestle for position of on the floor and possession of the basketball.
Oh, can't believe what's happened there. George has put it on a platter to the player. You don't want to put it on a platter too. Melbourne up to 16. The Caps up to 29. Can you believe what we're witnessing? Mitchell turns it over and it's falling apart here for the Boomers.
Just need to settle here, and you can look to Leilani Mitchell to try and bring a tempo change to the way that Melbourne plays. She'll try to get them organised and all on the same page. Right now there's a bit of a disconnect, there's a bit of angst. She'll be the galvanising force that can pull them together.
Smart, interesting shot choice. Oh my word, it drops. Remember, Melbourne were up by 14 points midway through the first quarter. Now they're down by 8, and we've got another timeout.
And that was a glorified heat check from Britt Smart to pull up from quarter court, feeling that she's able to hit that. You love players having confidence in their ability like that. That's a big momentum swinging three-point shot.
Unbelievable turnaround we've seen here at the National Convention Centre.
So look to Coach Chris Lucas to be able to diagram a play here on this possession, something that they're comfortable with, that they're able to execute and the players get a high clip of made baskets from, to be able to re-establish or try and wrestle back some of the momentum that the Caps have got. If you're Coach Kristen Veal, you don't want to allow that opportunity. So there's two things you can do. You can try to speed them up with an aggressive trap of some sort, whether that's out of your man-to-man defense or out of a zone, or be able to change some sort of stimuli back in the other half of the court. So that might be going into a zone defense or trapping the first pass down the floor. Anything that can try to disrupt the patterned set that's likely to come their way would be a win for the Caps. A rushed shot can be as good as a steal in this instance.
It'd be hard to think of a more dramatic and comprehensive run in the WNBL this season than the 26-4 run that the UC Capitals have at the moment. With 4 minutes 25 left in the first quarter, Melbourne were up 20-6. Caps now up 32-24. This sport is a huge sport of momentum, and we're seeing it on display in Canberra right now. Mitchell works away inside and misses the layup.
And this is what momentum can do to you. Like, Mitchell's a heck of a basketball player, just second-guessed the layup.
Then at the other end, a shot like that drops. Lucky roll for Swain, and the Caps are humming. Mitchell, call for the offensive foul. Boomers have already used 2 timeouts in this quarter as well. Nothing going right for them ever since 4 minutes 25 left in the first quarter.
Well, you might want to consider a defensive change-up yourself if you're Coach Chris Lucas. Anything that can stem the tide. The UC Caps have been the team in the competition that has made the least amount of three-point shots, shoots at the lowest percentage. So maybe you challenge them. You sit in the zone. Well, they are here. Here we go.
Swain misses, but a big rebound from Tugelak for Munga, who's back on the floor and lays it in for 2. Questions being asked of the reigning champions right now. Goodchild for George, for Goodchild. Oh, finally gets the lucky roll.
They needed that, and she's an imminent three-point shooting threat herself, Miela Goodchild.
Munga thought about the 3. And they work it around. Britt Smart being brilliant off the bench so far. 8 points for her. Here's Munga from Melbourne, who has led this comeback. Steps back. Can't hit the triple.
That would have been cold-blooded if that went down.
This Canberra crowd riding every basket attempt at the moment. George trying to generate something on offense here with Mitchell. Kicks it back out for George. Tough three-pointer attempt. Doesn't go. Good rebound from Murray. Goodchild. 2 triples in a row for Miela Goodchild. And the Boomers desperately needed that double. Timeout called with the Caps up 36-30 after a 24-point swing and we've still got 5 minutes left in the second quarter. It feels like we've already played a game in a quarter and a half.
Swings and roundabouts. It's been phenomenal.
Terrific to watch. This UC Caps outfit, as we mentioned off the top mark, of often this season played like a team that is better than a two-win team. They've challenged some of the best teams. Personified a couple of weeks ago when they pushed the Townsville Fire within 1 point, went down 81 to 80. They're a proud team. They're a proud club with a proud history. We know the championship success as well, and they're being led by these young guns of Melbourne and Swain. And, you know, Burrell's only 22 years of age. Herself, Beck Pissy's only 24. There's still a lot to like about this UC Capitals outfit.
There is. There's a fearlessness that comes with that youthful athlete just by nature. But then also, I mean, you look at the ladder and they're in bottom place at the moment, but you can play the back end of this season with, you know, all bets being off. You can play freely without pressure and be able to do what you do and grow at your own rate, which is exactly what they're doing. The challenge for them is going to be, if the Melbourne Boomers go on a run here, do they have the resolve to continue down this path, or does that change their whole approach? Do they go into playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win right now?
Interesting 5 minutes coming up for the Boomers. Pizzy. When Beck Pizzy is knocking him down for three, you know it's your night.
She shot the ball really well and stretched the floor as a 5 for them this season with their opportunity. She's done really well with the time that she's had, both as a starter and then coming off the bench.
Goodchild drove hard towards the basket. Didn't get that right-hand attempt to go, and another stop for the Caps. Melbourne for Kalia. This is nuts. Absolutely bonkers we're seeing at the National Convention Centre.
They've lost a little bit of an interior presence here, the Melbourne Boomers. They're going inside, but here you get a short corner catch. You know, credit Kayla George to make the heads-up play to go to the bounce, but they could be pretty well served to consider putting Nelson Adota back in. One, to be, you know, that interior presence for them, but then also a rim protector back the other way.
George's first field goal of the night so far. The left-hand attempt there from Kalia didn't drop, then goes with the right. No good on the hook.
So Kalia doesn't get that O-board if you've got Nelson Adota on the floor.
Murray thought about the triple. Goodchild has been good in this second quarter. Mitchell. That's Leilani Mitchell, of course. Missed it. Murray rebound. Goodchild's got 3 threes in the turn.
Imminent threat, but then this is the experience of Mia Murray. So realising that there's not a great offensive rebounding presence, so she comes in from the perimeter to compete for it.
It's smart at the other end. Can't get it to go. A stop for the Boomers. Tiff Mitchell pulls up for 2. Missed it, and Goodchild didn't bring down the offensive rebound, but drew the contact, and she's been very important for Melbourne off the bench. We saw her against Bendigo earlier this season when she hit the 18 points, went 6 of 6 from three-point territory. We know she can get hot and how damaging she can be, and how important an acquisition she has been for the Melbourne Boomers. They really need her to continue her momentum as this game progresses. George goes to work here on Tugliak. Mid-range 2 attempt was tough. Murray comes up with the rebound, working underneath the rack. Leilani Mitchell still can't get that three-point attempt to drop. Melbourne, electric pass. Swain, Melbourne, goes to work. Master v Apprentice, Melbourne v Leilani. And we'll head to the line. The former Opal's point guard, done magnificent work at international level. Leilani Mitchell taking on, you would suggest, the future Opal's point guard in Jade Melbourne. Swain into the lane. 44-35 in favour of the Caps. George guarded very closely here by Munga. Inside for Murray, playing in the post is Mia Murray. She's earned a trip to the free throw line.
And that's the recognition that comes with experience. So I mentioned it earlier, her very noticeably coming in and crashing the offensive glass from the perimeter, which is not what you're used to seeing from her, but realizing that they need that within their game right now. She did that 2 possessions in a row, kept 2 possessions alive, basically, came up with it, found 2 shooters. Leilani missed the second one. Goodchild hit the first, and then going and being a post presence, posting up the smaller defender. Just a heady play from a veteran player. She knows what it takes to win.
In this kind of situation, this is where you want a 337-game player trying to arrest the momentum. Tugliak goes to work herself on the inside and gets the lucky roll. Tough basket.
And credit to Chloe Tugliak being confident enough to go off the bounce, especially against a team that's bound for the finals as a championship contender. In this portion of the game where Melbourne Boomers are coming to back herself, it's a massive, massive play.
Tiff Mitchell responds with a big 3. Reduces the margin to 6. Smart kicks it out. Munga can't get it to go, but there's the desperation of Nicole Munga. Gets rid of Tiff Mitchell, gets the offensive rebound, and gives Canberra a fresh 14. What a pass from Jade Melbourne. Swain can't hit the reverse.
Heads up play to back cut there from Shanice Swain too.
Fans in Canberra tonight getting full value for money, and they've still got a half to go. Tiff Mitchell can't get the layup. Very disappointed no foul was called. Melbourne at the other end, kicks it out. Smart for 3!
Outstanding pass. You can see the gravity that she has when she goes to the dribble. There were 3 purple singlets that all converged in the keyway. And then you can see it's a clear directive from the Caps to fill 2 corners with shooting players. So if Jade ever gets stuck, she can throw it to either corner and knows that her teammate's going to be there.
11 assists for the Caps tonight. Jade Melbourne has 5 of those. To go with 16 points at 7 of 9 from the charity stripe. Kayla George will go to the free throw line for the Melbourne Boomers. 82% free throw shooter. What a season she's putting together here for Mark. His hot tip, Kayla George, for the Susie Bakovic medal this season. Final minute of this unbelievable first half. Swain cuts baseline, lays it in.
2 of the past 3 possessions for the Melbourne Boomers, or defensive possessions, I should say, they've allowed a ball handler to go right by them. So they're up and out of a stance. They've contained for 1 slide and then stood up and almost given up on the play. I'd like to see them keep their hips down and fight to stay down and stay in front of the basketball for 2 and 3 slides.
Murray couldn't hit the baseline jumper, but Mitchell showing off her athleticism there to bring down the offensive rebound and put it back in. 7-point differential on the scoreboard. 4-second differential between the clocks. Melbourne for Smart. Swain in the corner.
Wow.
Incredible basketball. You wouldn't know that this team has won just 2 games this season. Leilani Mitchell is denied. 2.5 left in the quarter. (54-44) lead. Solway checks in for the Caps with 2.5 left to play. Murray kicks it out, turns it over. Melbourne! We know she's good at that shot. UC Caps, you better believe it. 54-44, leaders over the finals-bound Melbourne Boomers. The Boomers led 20-6 halfway through the first quarter. Now they trail 54-44. What a breathtaking half of basketball, Mark.
Turn the game on its head. So a 34-24 quarter. You've got Melbourne and Swain with 16 points apiece, doing a phenomenal job. The team is shooting 50% from the 3-point line, but that's all come off the back of the quick transitions, being able to get to the rim off the bounce, and really taking on this Melbourne Boomers outfit from a defensive containment standpoint. So challenging them to have to try and defend and stay in front of you when you're going flat chat off the dribble. It's forcing other players to come in and help, and then they're throwing the ball to a corner corner where they've got a wide open shooter.
They've been led by their young guns, Jade Melbourne and Shanice Swain, both with 16 points apiece at halftime. 18 points for Tiff Mitchell, who is carrying her team for the Melbourne Boomers at the moment. It's halftime. We'll take a short break here on 9 Now, and we've still got a half to go. Do not go anywhere.
Chance to celebrate our beautiful Indigenous heritage and culture with Indigenous Round.
It's really special to me to be able to share my culture through the community. It's just, so exciting, and I'm really happy that we're doing it.
Conti pushing the pace, Blitzarves. Conti's got 3 threes. Great dime, finds Blitzarves. What a pass, what a find, Mont Conti. Southside, Hunting, moving forward. Here's Poch, inside the keyway, spinning around. Nadia Poch, what a move.
Will she shoot over the top of Mitchell or take her on? She tries to take her on, spins, tough one, steps. Oh, what a play!
This game deserves overtime.
Wallace carves her way through, and we're all tied up with 28 seconds to play. Heel, will she take on Murray? She does, just shoot straight over the top. Hawkins will go at George.
Wow.
It's a 4-point lead. What a game. Credit to both teams. They threw everything they had at each other from the opening tip.
And that's a good speed there from Alex Bunton and the Caps to Melbourne. Oh, spinning around Capillo, loses it momentarily, goes in again. Oh, Jade Melbourne, but just keeps pulling stuff out of her trick bag. Melbourne up against Capillo, 2 young guns, and Melbourne pops it in.
It's the biggest WNBL season yet, and superstar Lauren Jackson returns. Turn it up. Don't miss a block, basket, or game winner.
Does not steal the win.
WNBL, live on 9 Now.
Do not underestimate the power of a good blind. Take this exhausted couch. Now it stands before you. Magnifique. Even this cocktail of dead skin is gracefully waltzing. Da 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 da. DIY blinds. Change the ugly.
I'm so ready for love.
Australia's biggest social experiment.
Oh my God.
It's not easy to meet girls when you're like 900 k's from civilization.
Is on 9 Now.
I look like the girl next door. I'm actually a little freak in the sheets.
Stream every new episode of The Love Phenomenon. Completely free, whenever you want.
Let's get married.
New Married at First Sight on 9 Now.
Gossip Girl here, your one and only source into the scandalous lives of Manhattan's elite. XOXO Gossip Girl.
Get your summer streaming on 9 Now.
So baby, in 90 days, we're gonna be husband and wife.
I was with her for 5 days, and then I proposed to her.
She's so eager to be in love, she lets red flags just go.
People say 19-year-old, she's just using you. Maybe she could be.
90 Day Fiancé. Get your summer streaming on 9 Now. Tune in to the WNBL show, dropping weekly during the season and released across your favourite podcast network every Tuesday. Or watch the full vodcast at WNBL.basketbol. League MVP.
I'll never get used to that, by the way. That's a bit strange.
We can always come to you for a great inspirational quote.
Join me, Megan Hustray, and my team of co-hosts, stars across the league, as we talk about everything that's happening on and off the court in the Cygnett WNBL.
This year, Australia wants
more. Everything. That's way more than I thought.
more.
Celebrities, snogging with the stars.
More.
Exciting.
Shocking.
Unhinged. Thrilling.
I don't mean dramatic, but should we call an ambulance?
More Sophie Monk.
New The 100.
High five. What is happening?
The new season of The 100. Stream the latest episodes on 9 Now.
Think about the lives wrecked. This man isn't a forensic pathologist. He's a charlatan.
One of Australia's most senior politicians on the payroll of the mafia. It's the worst question in the world to ask somebody. Do you think your mother killed your father?
Conspiracies, murders, cover-ups. Australia's most astonishing cases go under investigation. Stream the latest episodes on 9 Now.
He wants us to pick up where he left off. Saving people, hunting things, the family business.
Stream complete seasons of Supernatural on 9 Now.
When you look at the elite levels of basketball, there's a lot of pathways at that level. But when you talk about community grassroots, it's a lot harder, I think, to sort of break through that barrier. But I think this platform is trying to sort of bridge that gap.
This platform really starts to drive pathways and opportunities, particularly around the pillars of coaching, officiating and administrating.
That's why this platform is important to me.
We've caught our breath here in the commentary position. Hope you have at home too after an incredible first half between the UC Capitals and the Melbourne Boomers at the National Convention Centre. The Boomers led by 14. The Capitals went on a nuts run and they now lead by 8 points, 52-44 at the major break. Ben Waterworth with you alongside one of the sharpest minds in Australian basketball and long-time WNBL assistant coach, Mark Alabakoff. Mark, what a outstanding comeback that was from the UC Capitals. They used the momentum of the crowd. They were led by their two young guns as well in Shanice Swain and Jade Melbourne.
Yeah, phenomenal quarter by them. I mean, you look at the points in the paint there. The Caps have done a fantastic job of peppering the basket just with reaction time advantages, being faster in the open floor, getting to the tip of the rim. There was at least 10 to 12 points worth of missed layups that they had as well. So that points in the paint figure could be a whole lot higher. But it drew a lot of the attention of the Melbourne Boomers, which then opened their three-point game.
We're running out of superlatives for Jade Melbourne, who is continuing to blow us away in the WNBL. She's got some big things coming up in 2023 from a WNBA perspective. We're going to see some of her highlights now, including some of her assists as well. And not only is she awesome at bringing her teammates into the game, but just in the past month, we're seeing how damaging she can be herself.
Yeah, I mean, in this game in particular, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and the 3 steals. So she fills up every column of the statistical box score, but she keeps pushing. She's relentless. So the fact that the Caps have got 16 points off turnovers and 5 fast break points, it's been wholly based on her as the catalyst. So the ability for her to get on the rim or be the impetus that forces defenders to come in and play her and then find teammates to be able to knock down their three-point shot. She's the main reason why they've gotten back into this ball game and why they could snatch a big scalp today.
All right, just a reminder as well, if you're just joining us, the Melbourne Boomers without Christy Wallace today. Their star guard, Christy, came off the court against the Flyers a few nights ago, with some blood after she landed on the basketball. Just feeling a little sore as well today. So a game day decision to not play her today. It meant that Taylor Ortlop got the start, and she will be out there on the floor for the start of this third quarter. Mark, how do you see the second half playing out? Because the big challenge now for the Caps after this incredible momentum swing is to try and match it with the reigning champions for another half.
Yeah, which is going to present a challenge. So, the margin isn't big enough that the game is won right now if you're the Caps. For Melbourne, it's re-establishing an inside game both early and late in the shot clock. It's avoiding chasing points. So being able to be the best executing team in this half is important. They've got only the 9 assists and 13 turnovers for the half. They're playing very un-Melbourne Boomers-like, and some of that is by choice, not necessarily always by the defense that the UC Caps have been playing. So the Caps in that second quarter scored 34 points to Melbourne's 22. That 34-point mark was their best and biggest quarter so far this WNBL season. Can they maintain this intensity and talent and skill for another half? Jade Melbourne almost pulled off another terrific assist. Pizzi just fumbled, almost won it back. Swain did win it back, but not for long. But a good start in terms of intent. So being able to come in and continue to play while the basketball's transitioning down the floor, Swain sees an opportunity to come in and get her hands in.
She had 16 points as well. Can't forget her outstanding first half, Shanice Swain. Ortlop inside for George. Gets the lucky roll, and the Boomers will need a few of those rolls to drop as well as we start this second half.
Case in point why they want to be the best executing team. So a great back screen there to get Kayla George a 1 second advantage to get position close to the basket, and they threw her the ball on time and on target. She makes the layup.
A couple of ticks here for the Boomers at the start of the third quarter. A couple of stops as well. Nelson Adota back on the floor. Ortlop. Mitchell left alone for three, and that's dangerous. Don't want to give Tiff Mitchell a sniff.
2 great possessions in a row, so now it drags more defensive attention going to Kayla George, opens up Tiff Mitchell on the three-point line.
Game high 19 points for Tiffany Mitchell, the only Boomer in double figures at the moment, where the Caps have 3 players in double figures. One of them is Britt Smart. She's got 13.
A big contributor on the offensive end, and she's a live wire. She gets hot and scores in bunches.
Had a big sort of past few weeks, Britt Smart as well. Tiff Mitchell finds a way through. George couldn't get, in fact Murray it was, that couldn't get the second chance opportunity. George misses the 3. And then Murray lost control. It's deemed off Canberra hands though, so still 12 seconds on the shot clock.
Good sign. So Mia Murray still with that proactive, that solution-oriented mindset to go in and compete for possession. And then I mentioned earlier of having an Nelson Adota out on the floor, she keeps possessions alive with her length.
George for Mitchell on the post against Melbourne here. And too good Tiff Mitchell on that occasion. She has 21.
So much better when she's not in a hurry.
Swain. Can't want to drop. The Caps give a look here for the Boomers on offense, and then Beck Pizzi gives away the foul, trying to tap it away there from Olivia Nelson-Adota. Just on Britt Smart before, so her last 2 games against Adelaide, 18 points, including 5 of 6 from three-point territory, and then 14 points and 5 rebounds as well, and she's already up to 13 tonight. Tiff Mitchell, my word, what a game she's playing.
And early here, you can feel the game is now being established to be the Melbourne Boomers' pace.
Burrell lost control, and now the Boomers have an opportunity to retake the lead. And who else but Tiff Mitchell to give them back an opportunity to take the lead next possession. They've levelled up the scores at 56 apiece, and a timeout is called early stages here at the National Convention Centre. This time out as well is brought to you by DIY Blinds, to fit out your home with Australian-made, designer-quality window furnishings, of course at the best prices. Head to DIYblinds.com.au to order your free samples today. Chris Lucas will be very satisfied, Mark, with the start to this third quarter for his side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned, wanting to be the best executing team. You don't need to make all of this margin up in a hurry, but they absolutely have, just purely on executing their offense pristinely well, and it's forcing the Caps to have to make decisions. I also mentioned trying to re-establish an inside game both early and late in the possession. So the first two touches, you get Kayla George for a layup, you get Kayla George, which then drags two defenders to her. Tiff Mitchell hits the three. Nelson Adoda goes and posts up, draws a foul on Beck Pizzi. All of these things are catalysts for, or as a result, I should say, of being able to try and be interior focused early in the possession. Credit to them to make the adjustment and then turn this game back on their terms and at the pace that they want.
Tiff Mitchell up to 26 points. Early stages of the third quarter. Her best was against Perth in the first game of the season, where she hit 32. She is well placed to usurp that. Great start by the Boomers in this quarter. A 12-2 run here to start the third term. Tugliak for Smart. Trying to work her way around Nelson Adoda. Jade Melbourne. What a pass. Smart couldn't finish off her good work, and is deemed off Smart's hands as well.
Unlucky. She's got eyes in the back of her head, Jade Melbourne.
5 assists for Jade Melbourne. With 3 steals, 4 boards, and the 16 points. Well, it's a 70% clip. Nelson Adoda gives away the offensive foul. Ray Burrell, always satisfying, hitting the deck and getting helped up by your teammates after drawing the contact.
It's a common action here out of a horns alignment when you've got your two biggest players on the elbows. If you're the Melbourne Boomers, you can throw to one and then dive the other one to the basket. So you saw Kayla George cutting to the rim, and it creates a vacuum of space for Nelson Adoda to drive into. If they inverted who was doing what on that possession, they might have got a layup, I think.
Swain lost control, and a couple of turnovers here from the Capitals at the start. Tiff Mitchell is playing with a fierce determination, and Goodchild is feeling it from long range. In fact, it's Ortlip on this occasion who's knocked it down. First points for the Boomers tonight. Smart at the other end replies.
You can't take a play off. Both of these teams, the moment that you let up your focus or your concentration just for a moment, the opponent gets a little bit of a run on.
George for Ortlip for another triple. Well short, and Smart just keeps it in. And intelligently tapped it back to the advantage of Melbourne. Couldn't get the crossover going. Almost collided with Mitchell. And Mitchell keeps her feet. It's 4-on-2 here. Take your pick. Mia Murray knocks the triple down. And looks like Chloe Tugliak just a little slow to get to her feet here. She's being supported here by her teammates. As a timeout is called as well at the same time. Tugliak will be assessed. So after a 2-year hiatus as well, the Cygnett WNBL Awards Night is back in 2023. It's proudly presented by Foot Locker. Come and join in the celebration with players, game officials and sponsors as we celebrate the season highlights and announce the MVP, the Susie Bakovic medalist of the 2022-23 season. For tickets, head to that table there, head to that website rather, for tables of 10 at WNBL.basketball. That will be held at the Medallion Club in a couple of weeks' time. So what's your tone in your message, I suppose, if you're Kristen Field, because they would have known that the Boomers would have come out with an attitude, and they've had an 18-5 start to this third quarter of the Melbourne Boomers.
Well, it's all defensive, so I mean it's easy to say you can't get rattled, right? But I think you're narrowing their focus, so you're probably talking about clarity on how you want to defend main actions, so that horns action that they're playing out of primarily, clarity on who you might want to help off of if there's somebody in particular that you're going to leave open. So in this instance, you might test Taylor Orlip's ability to shoot the three and take away Tiff Mitchell's and Mia Murray's. But you probably want a whole lot more pressure on the basketball too, so they can't see those open windows to be able to throw to people in the post or on the three-point line.
Melbourne. Tuglak, who stayed out there. Good signs. And she's turned it over to the Boomers. With several steals at the start of this third quarter. Mitchell goes to work, lost control. The Caps get one back. And Britt Smart's not going to be caught here. What a game she's playing. A team high 18 points for Britt Smart.
They're committing to running off turnovers. They've got 18 points off the Boomers' turnovers so far this game.
Mitchell with 5 to shoot. Works her way into the key and misses. And a stop here for the Caps at a good time. Swain, bullet-like pass inside for Burrell.
You see the beautiful spacing that Britt Smart had on the three-point line in the corner there too. So we had a pick of both. You had Burrell at the rim and you had the threat of Smart in the corner for the three.
So the Caps regain the lead. Catchy from Nelson Adoda. And too big and too strong there, and a lovely left-hand finish. I don't think too many of us coming to this game today expected how it would play out. The momentum swings, the class, the shooting has been awesome from both teams. The Caps showing why they can't afford to be underestimated in the back end of this WNBL season. Still plenty of time left. Mitchell lobbing it in for George. Double teamed here, so she kicks it out for Leilani Mitchell. Now George loves a reverse. And she gets it to go and will head to the line for an extra.
It's following the recipe perfect that I outlined out at half-time, going into the post early and then also late in the possession. So it came in as a catalyst for the following action. So drag defenders in when Kayla George had the ball in the post. She kicks it out to Leilani Mitchell, then presents on the ball side again. They throw back into her late in the shot clock and then catches defenders with that baseline drive, gets on the free throw line.
Apologies, totally misread that. She will head to the total oxygen on the reverse attempt. So she will head to the line to shoot to Kayla George. And she converts both. So she is now 6 of 6 from the free throw line and 10 points overall. Here's Swain showing off the handles. And banks it lovely in off the glass.
Beautiful finish off the dribble on her right hand. And the Boomers committing to this 2-3 zone defensively.
Great rebound from Mia Murray. Done some great work off the offensive glass tonight, Mia Murray. Puts it back in for 2. As this seesawing encounter continues.
That's her 5th offensive rebound.
Kalia for Smart for 3. She's feeling it tonight from beyond the arc, Britt Smart. Smart 4 of 6 from three-point land. George has to kick it out here or fade away. Didn't get it to go. Melbourne, look away pass. Blink and you'll miss. Swain is the beneficiary. She takes her tally to 20, and that's dish number 7 for Jay.
Clip that for the plays of the week.
George kicks it out for Tiff Mitchell. Steps back from the strike, knocks it down. And Tiff Mitchell up to 28. What a game of hoops we're witnessing in the nation's capital. And Ray Burrell can't continue the highlights here. Goodchild is back on the floor for Melbourne.
So notice a pace change. They're not forcing the ball. Now they're executing in the half court.
Here's Goodchild. The ball has really gone through her hands a lot in this third quarter. And that's another assist for her and another 2 points for Mia Murray.
They're patient. They timed their screens well. Cutting angles were tight. Excellent execution.
Double-double for Mia Murray. 15 points, 10 rebounds. Melbourne, oh my. Just a little proppy after pulling up from a terrific reverse layup. She goes to 18 points. Tiff Mitchell guarding Melbourne here. Blocking foul called on Melbourne.
See the toughness of Jade Melbourne. In her mind, she'll think, I've got another foot that works. It's fine, I can stay out there.
So first foul on Melbourne. Just a reminder, Beck Pissy's on 4 and Ray Burrell also on 4 for the Caps. So they'll have to manage that delicately, the UC Caps, over the next 12 minutes of basketball. So the baseline ball here, as you heard, Abby Solway checking into the game as well for the UC Caps. Played all of 3 seconds at the end of the first quarter. We'll have a little bit longer, you'd suggest, on the floor now.
Look for Kayla George and Tiff Mitchell to be in a down screen action here on the weak side.
Ball with Mitchell now. Kicks out here for Goodchild, who drives baseline. Lovely move and a great finish from Miela Goodchild.
Great three-point shooters need that. They need an off-the-dribble game.
Yep. Kick back out here for Melbourne, who keeps control. Goodchild now doing the defending. Melbourne spinning and can't hit the mid-range 2. Don't often see Jade Melbourne put up too many mid-range 2 attempts. Wonderful battle between Mitchell and Melbourne. That continues. George in the corner. Can't get it to drop. The rebound go for Miela Goodchild. Leilani Mitchell for Tiff Mitchell. Kicks it out. Lou Brown with a look for 3. Can't get it to go. But the Boomers with a fresh 14 seconds. Dominating the offensive glass.
And interesting that you mentioned that too, because the lineup for the UC Caps is a very small lineup right now. There's not a genuine forward or center on the floor, especially where the Boomers have made a point of trying to go inside. Interesting tactic.
Mitchell hits another triple. She's got 29. Swain. No good.
I anticipate they'll be trying to outrun the Boomers back the other way.
They've put the clamps on the Caps in this third quarter, although Goodchild's pass is off target. In the meantime, we'll have Smart with the inbounds pass. Jade Melbourne will go to work. Smart's been brilliant off the bench. Solway trying to create something here with Melbourne. Long attempt drops. Cherie Kalia coming up with a big 3 ball just before three-quarter time. And then Swain wins it back. Oh, that's unfortunate. Won it back on the line, and unfortunately went back to the backcourt. Leilani Mitchell breathe a sigh of relief. The Boomers still have an opportunity here. Big quarter from Melbourne. That's of the Boomers variety. And a big quarter from Tiff Mitchell. She misses, and Jade Melbourne won't put up the prayer, but that is a very strong response from the Melbourne Boomers. A 33-point quarter from Melbourne after Canberra put on 34 in the second, and at three-quarter time, they regained the lead, and we probably did see it coming, not necessarily on the scoreboard, but from an intensity perspective, Mark, we knew Melbourne would come out with playing with that fierce determination, and that's exactly how it transpired.
Absolutely, and then committing to playing from the inside out and then inside late in the shot clock. So they have 20 points in the paint so far. They've got 19 second chance points and 14 offensive rebounds. So that comes when you put the bigger lineups on the floor, which is a different tact to what they had in that first half alone. But then the defensive job, or that helps assist with. So the Caps had 16 points off turnovers. They've only got 18 so far, so there was only 2 in that quarter, but that comes from the contest that's on the glass. It doesn't allow the ball to leak out as quickly to the Caps' advantage.
Look at that rebound count as well, plus 19 in favour of the Melbourne Boomers. That's a big differential. Outside of that, it's pretty similar in terms of your shooting clips, but the ability of the Boomers to generate second chance opportunities has been very significant in this game. Mia Murray has really led from the front. We all know about Murray's ability to hit the 3 ball, and she's already hit 3 from 6 from that territory, but she's got 15 points and 10 rebounds, her first double-double of the 2022-23 campaign for Mia Murray. And she's maybe playing a slightly different role tonight, or influencing the match in a different way than what we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, and that's what she can do. She's made a career out of being that athlete that is really a utility player. So we know her as a three-point shooter. She'll defend, in the peak of her career, will defend the best player on the other team. Here, she notices that there's a lack of interior presence or competing on the offensive glass, goes and she's got 6 offensive rebounds so far for the game. Leather poisoning with 10 rebounds.
Yeah, offense. You mentioned the offensive rebound count before. 16-5 in favour of the Boomers over the Caps. That's contributing to that plus 19 differential. What have the Caps got? A big challenge coming up for this young brigade, coached by Kristen Veal. Mitchell of the Tiff variety has 31 points tonight. As a foul is called, and Beck Pizzi checks out. That's her 5th. And she will take no further part in this game, much to her disappointment. She's shattered.
It presents another challenge. So we talked about the physical and the size ascendancy. Like, as the game wears on and everybody gets tired, the big players don't get any smaller. The Caps now don't have a genuine 4 or 5 on the roster able to come in and play.
And their most athletic player, Burrell, who's got the ball now, also has 4 fouls to her name. Lovely pass to Kalia. And the Caps get the scoring underway in the 4th.
And there's the advantage of having a smaller lineup. You can outrun teams down the floor, so they still have to match up against you back the other way.
Great to have your company wherever you're watching on 9 now. You are seeing a cracker of a basketball game. George catches in the post. Blair trying to go straight up. Foul is called, though. It's the 2nd on the Caps in this 4th quarter.
Watch Jade Melbourne, comes over immediately, so knows that there's going to be a size mismatch in the post, and the Boomers have got a trend of trying to go inside to Kayla George. Flies over from her help position and tries to get a hand to the ball when Kayla George goes to the dribble.
What a season Kayla George has had so far. 13 double-doubles, including the triple-double as well. We all know how good she was against the UC Caps the last time these two sides met, when she had a monster 37 points and 17 rebounds as she put on a masterclass in Gippsland. She's been most influential tonight from the free throw line, 8 of 8 from the charity stripe, and she's gone 10 points, 8 boards, 6 assists.
Triple-double watch.
A lob inside for Burrell, and she's always putting that in. And not going away, Canberra.
She's most effective, Ray Burrell, when she lets the game unfold, lets it come to her, and then she uses her talent and her skill package to be able to make the plays that unfold rather than trying to force the action.
Just 5 points for Burrell tonight as Murray finds some space, drives into the lane and take her tally to 17. A big upside here for Burrell. Can she be a spark in this 4th quarter as Tiff Mitchell hits the deck? Is helped to her feet by her coach.
Both teams respecting the penetration of the keyway. So with the Melbourne Boomers, it's via the pass. With the UC Caps, it's via the dribble. So both teams are in a zone defense where they've got 2 different alignments depending on the team that they've got. So you've got the Melbourne Boomers in a 2-3 zone trying to shrink space around the keyway, force play around the perimeter. But then the UC Caps on that last possession were in a 1-2-2 zone.
So the UC Caps, all without Beck Pizzi, as we just saw, she's fouled out, but Nicole Munger not taking any further part in the game. She's being assessed for concussion after that head knock in the 2nd quarter we saw with Taylor Ortlock. So they're without 2 of their taller players on the floor at the moment. And meanwhile, one of the taller players for the Boomers, George, couldn't post. Fadeaway attempt there. Melbourne spins, kicks it out for a fellow young gun. Swain with the swish.
She's the catalyst. Jade Melbourne turning it on again.
9 assists for Jade Melbourne. George for Tiff Mitchell, who can't respond with her own triple, but George with the rebound, the fadeaway all night long.
So that's what having size on the floor helps you with. They force the type of shot that they wanted.
As Tugliak finds a way through and lays it in. Undermanned, but this Caps outfit continues to fight on, as does Tiff Mitchell for the Melbourne Boomers.
So the Caps forcing the types of shots that they want Melbourne to take. But then if Melbourne can commit to keeping on the O glass with both a presence down there or people crashing from the perimeter, they can will the ball back and then force the Caps to have to defend for another shot clock.
She will head to the free throw line. Tiff Mitchell, the #1 player in the WNBL this season for points per game, averaging the 19. She's exceeded that tonight, and she's exceeded that a lot, basically since midway through January. 4 of her last 6 games, she's had 20+ points. Excellent free throw shooter, as we know. The Boomers with their backs against the wall. Tiff Mitchell has come up with a season best 33 points and still 7.5 to play. Smart for Swain. Solway seeing minutes. What an opportunity this is for this young Caps bench. Swain again! Off target. While the young Caps go to work, you see Leilani Mitchell, Mia Murray and Kayla George, 3 veterans of the comp. What a three-pointer from the corner from Miella Goodchild. The Boomers just responding to every Caps challenge at the moment. Still 7 minutes to play. Melbourne guarded by Murray. And Mitchell trying to rip the ball away. It's a jump ball. And possession now is with the Caps.
Smart heads-up play here from Leilani Mitchell, knowing that Jade Melbourne is trying to will her team over the line, trying to get to the basket off a right hand there. Comes in and gets hands to the basketball, tries to either blow up the drive or force Jade Melbourne to give the ball up to someone perhaps, you know, not as confident to try and will her team, you know, into points on the board.
2 to shoot. Scalia! Unbelievable. 2 points drops, and she'll have an opportunity for an extra.
What's most pleasing about watching this Caps outfit, and you see it exemplified there with Cherie Kalia, there's no lack of belief. You know, they're being pushed, they're chasing down a deficit now in a game where they had a huge margin of lead, and then the Boomers have been able to wrestle back ascendancy, but there's still an intent and a purpose and a playing to win mindset that you can visually see.
Cherie Kalia completes the 3-point play. She's got 13 points tonight, Cherie Kalia. Certainly her best game of the season offensively. Leilani Mitchell for Murray, baseline, 2 drops. The wisdom and experience of the Boomers against the raw talent of this young Caps outfit. Swain can't hit a triple. She's 3 of 10 from 3-point land tonight, but she's feeling it and has a license to shoot. George, great body position, great pass, and the 2 goes.
And that's the challenge, and that's the perhaps inexperience just yet of Shanice Swain. Tremendous basketball player, but rushes a shot at one end, turns into a score at the other end.
Cherie Kalia all nylon though with the response 3. The UC Caps hanging in there. What signs for the future of Australian basketball and this club. Mitchell inside for Murray, and that drops as well. She's got 19, Mia Murray, in her double-double today. Jade Melbourne doesn't get the love off the glass. And then well read by Swain. They were going for the Hail Mary pass to Murray, didn't come off. Swain crosses over, didn't get the layup to go. Almost in slow motion, that was pretty much, she was feeling it on that occasion, Shanice Swain. They're going to George, who has the mismatch. She falls short, can't get it to go off the offensive rebound. Another one can't drop. There's some tired players out in the court at the moment. But Jade Melbourne finds another gear and can't get it to go.
Caps probably thinking about timeout if the Boomers get a score here.
Not a lot of hard transition running. They are stuffed. Ortliff, though, comes up with the triple. And there is that timeout. We can all take a breath. The players in particular. Timeout called at the National Convention Centre, and this timeout is brought to you by Aussie Hoops. Aussie Hoops has been setting the basketball foundations for kids aged 5 to 10 for quite some time now. So whether your kids are basketball fans or simply looking to be a part of a team, register them at Aussie Hoops to kickstart their basketball journey now. So this is a big 5 minutes coming up for this young Capitals outfit, but also for the Boomers as well. They are being severely challenged, this experienced team, by a team playing with incredible youthful enthusiasm. Mark, if you're in Chris Lucas's shoe, what's your message to a team that's been in so many timeouts for so many years?
Well, look, it sounds really elementary, but you just want to stay rock solid with whatever your principles are. So especially when it pertains to possession play, because you're going to face a team that's going to come out in this last 4 minutes and 28 seconds. It's going to be highly aggressive for the ball on the O glass. They're going to climb into you defensively. So you want to preempt that with being able to box out well, have some size on the floor to be able to compete for possession, but then talk about the types of ways that you'll alleviate that pressure. So that might be a press break. That might be you have a back cut entry into whatever offense that you're trying to deploy, so you can punish the aggressiveness from the defensive end of the UC Caps.
Remember, Beck Pizzi fouled out. Nicole Munger being assessed for concussion. Ray Burrell is also fouled out for the UC Caps. They are going small because they've got no choice at the moment, the UC Caps out on the floor. Can they pull off an all-timer here with 4.5 to play? And their young star guard calling the shots. He's Smart for Melbourne. Guarded by Leilani Mitchell. Kicks it out for Smart. Oh, almost hit the three. An important stop for Kayla George and the Melbourne Boomers. George has a double-double, 16 and 10 for Kayla G. Almost had an assist opportunity there as well. Tiff Mitchell, well guarded. 3 to shoot here for the Boomers. Ortliff for George, shot clock violation. Big defensive play and set from the Caps.
That's absolutely what you wanted if you're the UC Caps. Competed, rotated on flight time of the ball, didn't get baited into fouling.
Melbourne, oh my. Brilliant pass for Swain. It is seriously entertaining watching those two players click in the same game today. 8-point differential. Canberra crowd right behind their team. Smart almost knocked it away from Murray. And the lob pass for George doesn't come off. And the Caps with a golden opportunity. Melbourne, Smart, Solway, cut from Swain. Unlucky roll for Swain. And a collective groan across the National Convention Centre after that missed shot. Tiff Mitchell goes to work. Lovely step. Can't get it to drop. It's deemed off Melbourne hands. The bench in unison rose to their feet and pointed to the left. A timeout call by Chris Lucas with his side up by 8 points. It's a funny old situation the Melbourne Boomers are in right now. They can't force their way into the top two. They're pretty much locked in to third. They've got a game next week to come as well. But it has got, as funny as it sounds, Mark, they're playing the bottom team, but it's almost like, it feels like a final before a final at the moment, but just with the desperation that the UC Caps are playing with.
Absolutely, and I think, both of the teams would be coming in with that sort of mindset. So if you're the Caps, you're playing against a team that's going to feature in finals, has been the top of the ladder for the bulk of the first half of the season. So you can treat these remaining games. They've got the Boomers now and then Perth to come as your final series, you can frame it as your grand final and be able to create some purpose and pressure around that for an educational standpoint. For the Boomers, it's about regaining rhythm, knowing that you've got to be able to lift to the standards that you've had, or make sure that you adhere to those things, because you've shown that your best basketball is competitive with any of the teams in the finals. You want to be playing your best come this business end of the season.
Any theories as to why they haven't played Nelson Adoda as much today? Just the 2 fouls to a name, only 14.5 minutes. They're running with Ortlop, Murray, George, and the 2 Mitchells at the moment.
My guess would be, purely from a matchup standpoint, when you've got an athlete that's 6'4", 6'5", the advantage of the size that you have close to the rim becomes a liability out on the perimeter or in the open floor, especially when you've got the Caps with all guards on the floor that'll just get it and go at a rate of knots.
Genuinely, the Caps have got all guards on the floor at the moment. Quite a remarkable situation. That doesn't faze Jade Melbourne. Long attempt, drops! Cherie Kalia playing the game of her life. 19 points for Kalia. George just regains control and gets the lucky roll. 2 minutes and change left. 7-point lead for Melbourne. Kalia for Solway, for Smart, for Swain. Guarded by Goodchild. Behind the back pass to Smart. Believe Canberra.
I'm out of my seat. This is incredible.
Bonkers basketball in the nation's capital. George guarded by Melbourne in the post. 3-on-1, back out for Tiff Mitchell. 10 to shoot. Tiff Mitchell can't find the net. And a stop for the Caps. Mitchell, big steal. Misses the layup. Pressure does funny things to even the best. And then Melbourne turns it over. Speaking of pressure does funny things to the best. What are we witnessing? Ball in the hands of Leilani Mitchell. Foul called, and the Caps are in the bonus. Solway gives it away.
That's the value of Leilani Mitchell, being able to have been in these situations time and time again against some of the best players the world has ever seen in the past decade or more of basketball. She's been here, she knows how to win here, she knows how to manage the game.
And she is an excellent free throw shooter. For so many years, the Flyers, the Caps previously, and even at Bendigo as well, you would want the ball in her hands in this situation. The Boomers hit the ton again in this WNBL season. And Mitchell with her first points as a Boomer, what a time to come up with it as well. Still 70 seconds left, which is a longer time in a game of basketball. Smart assesses her options, fades away, interesting choice, and then almost came up with the athletic tip-in after the Swain miss. Final minute of the game.
Watch for Leilani Mitchell to hold the ball for the entirety of this shot clock.
George, turnover. Offensive foul. She put the arm up, booked her opponent around, and the Caps win the ball back with 45 seconds left in the game. Melbourne to Kalia, who's announced herself as a WNBL player today. Desperate times on defense for the Boomers. Smart! Another rush shot from Britt Smart. And she gives away the foul and sends one of the best free throw shooters we've seen in the league for a decade to the free throw line.
Interesting that Coach Christenville didn't call a timeout there, because there's no need to advance the ball to be able to shorten the shot clock to 14 seconds, but you can pattern the type of shot that you want, so you can get an orchestrated shot late in the game when you really need to keep the pressure on. When you allow players to play freely, sometimes you're going to get stuff that you wouldn't predict to happen, and it can be a little bit disorganized like that last possession was.
So Melbourne into triple figures for the 5th time this WNBL season. No team has hit triple figures more than the Boomers. Melbourne explodes to the rack, trying to get the quick points to go. Didn't come off, and there's no shot clock left now. Leilani Mitchell, Tiffany Mitchell, the wisdom and experience ultimately come up trumps. But almighty were they challenged by a plucky Canberra outfit. The Boomers escape with an 8-point victory. They showed their class when it mattered most, but they will be breathing a sigh of relief. Big props to Canberra. They played an awesome game. They were down by 14 halfway through the first quarter. They went on a 26-4 run across the first and second quarters. Got themselves in front, led by as much.
Realign and establish their style of basketball. That Melbourne Boomers really great executing, efficient offense that we've seen throughout the season. They were able to do that under a bit of duress, and that bodes well for them coming into the finals.
Just a word on Tiff Mitchell, as we see Jade Melbourne, another double-double for Jade Melbourne with the 18 points and the 13 assists, her fourth double-double of the season. Tiff Mitchell played all 40 minutes tonight to go with 33 points, 7 assists as well. She continues to amaze in the WNBL.
And why wouldn't you? If she's fit, she's as good an offensive talent as we've had in the competition. 33 points. She knocks down the 5 threes. So this is what I mentioned earlier about the way that her three-point shot has transformed in the course of the season from 23% to 42%. Her being able to come in and make 15 of her points from that three-point line makes her a really difficult matchup, and it goes a long way to being able to keep those driving lanes open, which is her plan A, and what makes her such a great player.
As we have a look at some of the highlights, it was topsy-turvy as well. And from a Canberra perspective, we saw some players take some big steps today. Cherie Collier in particular with 19 points, 4 of 4 from three-point land for Cherie Collier. Shanice Swain with 25 points as well. You have to remember that she's coming back from injury, but it was a season best for Shanice Swain as well. And Jade Melbourne, as we've mentioned, Britt Smart with a season-high 21 points off the bench as well. So many Canberra players really stood up in tough circumstances. Mark and I aren't going anywhere. We're sticking around for the big clash, one of the biggest clashes of the season coming up. It is a genuine final before the final series in a couple of hours' time between the Perth Lynx and Bendigo Spirit, the definition of a must-win game. And then one match tomorrow between the Townsville Fire and the Sydney Flames as they look to continue the Townsville Fire, this ridiculous winning streak that they are on. But we just witnessed a ridiculous game in the nation's capital, and it has been a privilege to bring it to you on 9 Now. On behalf of Mark Alabakoff and our entire hard-working team, this is Ben Waterworth signing off from the National Convention Centre, where the Melbourne Boomers got an almighty fright, but they held on in the end and hit the ton for the 5th time this season and won 103-95 over the plucky